I didn't know his name when I grabbed his arm. I didn't know anything except that Marcus was coming toward me through the crowd. His eyes locked on mine with that look. The one that made my skin crawl. The one that said he'd followed me here. Again.
Don't do this.
And I needed it
Please,
to stop.
We have to move right now before
The gallery
they see
opening
us.
was supposed to be safe, public. Hundreds of people admiring art under soft golden lights, sipping wine from crystal glasses. My best friend Lena had dragged me here, insisting I needed to get out more, to stop hiding in my tiny apartment like a frightened mouse. But Marcus had found me anyway. He always did. 3 months. 3 months since I'd told him I wasn't interested. 3 months of flowers at my door, messages filling my phone, his car idling outside my building. And the police had said they couldn't do anything. He hadn't technically broken any laws, just made my life a waking nightmare. And now he was pushing through the crowd,
I can't just
that
leave
smile on
everything
his
behind.
face.
We don't have a
The one that
choice.
looked friendly to everyone else but felt like a threat wrapped in politeness. I panicked. My hand shot out and closed around the arm of the man standing next to me, the one who'd been studying a painting with an intensity that seemed almost violent.
Yes.
He went still under my touch, and I felt the hardness of his bicep through the expensive fabric of his suit. Solid, immovable.
Yes, I will.
"I'm so sorry,"
I know you're
I whispered urgently, not even looking at him properly, just aware of his height, his presence. "Please just... My ex won't leave me alone. Can you just pretend? For a minute?" I felt him turn toward me, felt the weight of his attention like a physical thing. "Please," I said again, and I hated how my voice shook. Marcus was 10 feet away now. 8. 6. Then the stranger moved. His arm shifted under my grip, sliding around my waist with a confidence that stole my breath. He pulled me against his side, not roughly but with absolute certainty, and I finally looked up at him. My heart stopped. He was beautiful in a way that didn't make sense, all sharp angles and dangerous edges softened only slightly by the warm lighting. Dark hair, darker eyes that looked almost black in the shadows. His jaw was carved from stone, and there was a small scar cutting through his left eyebrow that should have made him look damaged, but instead made him look lethal. Everything about him screamed danger, but his hand on my waist was gentle. "Breathe," he said quietly, his voice low and accented. "Italian," I thought distantly. "I have you." Then Marcus was there, his smile faltering as he took in the stranger beside me, the way I was tucked against his body. "Sophia," Marcus said, and I hated hearing my name from his lips. "I didn't know you'd be here. I thought we could talk. She's with me." 3 words. That was all the stranger said. But something in his tone made Marcus actually take a step back, made his smile crack at the edges. "I wasn't aware Sophia was seeing anyone," Marcus said, trying to recover, but there was uncertainty in his voice now. The stranger's hand tightened fractionally on my waist. "Now you are." Silence stretched between them, heavy and thick. Around us, the gallery chatter continued, oblivious. But in our small circle, something primitive was happening. Some masculine standoff I didn't fully understand but could feel in my bones. Marcus looked at me, then back at the stranger, and whatever he saw there made him pale slightly. "Right," he said. "Well, good to see you, Sophia." He left. He actually turned around and walked away, disappearing into the crowd, and I couldn't believe it. After 3 months of not being able to shake him, 1 minute with this stranger and Marcus had retreated like a scolded dog. I should have stepped away then. Should have thanked the stranger and disappeared into the crowd myself. But I couldn't move. His hand was still on my waist, and I was still pressed against his side, and I could smell him. Something expensive and dark, cedar and smoke, and my brain wasn't working properly. "Thank you," I finally managed. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I was just desperate. And you were there? And how long? I blinked. What? How long has he been following you? The stranger's eyes moved across the gallery, tracking movement with a precision that made me wonder if he was military, or a cop, or something else entirely. The stalker. The word sounded different when he said it. More real. More dangerous. 3 months. I admitted quietly. He won't take no for an answer. The police say they can't do anything unless he actually threatens you. The stranger finished. His jaw tightened. Or worse. Yes. He was quiet for a moment, still watching the crowd, still holding me. Then his gaze dropped to mine, and the intensity in those dark eyes made my stomach flip. He won't bother you again, he said. It wasn't a promise. It was a statement of fact. How can you know that? I asked. Something flickered in his expression. Amusement, maybe, or something darker. I can be very convincing. He released me then, his hand sliding away from my waist, and I immediately felt colder, exposed. What's your name? The question left my lips before I could stop it. He studied me for a long moment, and I had the strangest feeling he was deciding something, making some kind of calculation I couldn't follow. Dante, he finally said. Sophia, I replied, then felt stupid. But you already... Marcus said... Sophia? The way he said my name made it sound different, important. You should be more careful about grabbing strangers in public places. I know, I'm sorry. Some men are more dangerous than stalkers. The words hung between us, weighted with meaning I couldn't quite grasp. A warning, maybe. Or a promise? Behind him, I noticed for the first time the 2 men in dark suits positioned near the gallery entrance. They weren't looking at the art. They were watching Dante. Waiting. Something cold slithered down my spine. I should go, I said. Thank you again. Really. I turned to leave, to find Lena and get out of here before my heart actually exploded from my chest, but his voice stopped me. Sophia. I looked back. Dante held out a card, simple, black, with just a phone number embossed in silver. Nothing else. If he bothers you again, he said, call me. I shouldn't have taken it. Every instinct I had screamed that this man was dangerous, that getting involved with him would be a mistake that would change my life. But I thought about Marcus waiting outside my apartment, about 3 months of fear, about how safe I'd felt, just for a moment, with Dante's arm around me. I took the card. His fingers brushed mine as I did, just for a second, and electricity shot up my arm. Go straight home, Dante said quietly. Don't stop anywhere. Do you have someone who can stay with you tonight? My friend Lena. Good. Stay with her. How do you... But he'd already turned away, moving toward his waiting men, and I was left standing alone in the middle of the gallery with a black card burning in my palm, and the feeling that I'd just made a deal with the devil without knowing the price. I found Lena near the sculptures, and we left immediately. She chattered about the art, about the people, about some actor she'd seen near the bar, but I barely heard her. All I could think about was the weight of Dante's hand on my waist.
Move the gal!
The darkness in his eyes, to the way Marcus had backed down like a frightened animal. Some men are more dangerous than stalkers. I looked at the card one more time before sliding it into my purse. I told myself I'd never use it. I was already lying to myself. The flowers arrived the next morning. I stared at the bouquet sitting outside my apartment door, my stomach dropping. White roses, 24 of them, arranged beautifully in expensive wrapping. Marcus's signature. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone to photograph them. Evidence, the police officer had said. Document everything. But when I bent down to check for a card, I froze. There was no card. There was never no card. Marcus always included a card with some message that walked the line between romantic and threatening. Thinking of you. You looked beautiful today. We belong together. But these roses were anonymous. I grabbed them quickly and brought them inside, my heart pounding. Maybe he'd forgotten. Maybe he was changing tactics. Maybe... My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My thumb hovered over the decline button, but something made me answer. Hello? Did you receive the flowers? That voice. Low, accented, unmistakable. Dante? I gripped the phone tighter. How did you get my number? The flowers, he said, ignoring my question. Did you receive them? I looked at the white roses on my kitchen counter, confusion swirling through me. These are from you? Yes. Why? Silence for a moment. Then, your stalker sent you flowers every week? Yes. White roses? How do you know that? It's Friday, Dante said simply. He would have sent them today. Now he cannot. My blood went cold. What do you mean he cannot? Well, what did you... Nothing permanent, he interrupted, but there was something dark in his tone. Marcus Webb received a visit this morning. He's been encouraged to redirect his attention elsewhere. The flowers are to maintain your routine, in case you have neighbors who notice such things. People who talk. I sat down heavily on my couch, trying to process what I was hearing. You had him visited? Yes. Dante, you can't just... That's illegal? There was amusement in his voice now. Perhaps. Also effective. You don't even know me, I whispered. Why would you do this? The pause was longer this time. When he spoke again, the amusement was gone. You asked for help, Sophia. I'm providing it. By sending men to threaten someone? Would you prefer I allowed him to continue? His tone sharpened slightly. To escalate, as they always do, until the police finally take action? After he's already hurt you? I hated that he was right. Hated that some part of me felt relieved instead of horrified. Thank you, I said quietly. But you shouldn't have... I'm grateful, but... Have dinner with me. The words cut through my stammering, clear and direct. What? Tonight. Dinner. I'll send a car at 7. I can't, I said automatically. We don't know each other. You could be... dangerous? He said it like he was savoring the word. Yes, Sophia, I am. But not to you. How can I know that? You can't. His honesty was startling. But you took my card. You kept it. Why? I didn't have an answer that made sense. Or I did, but I didn't want to admit it. That something in me had recognized something in him. Some darkness that called to the part of me that was tired of being afraid. One dinner, Dante said, in public, very safe, and then you can decide if you want to know me better. And if I say no, then Marcus Webb will still leave you alone, and you'll never hear from me again. He paused. But you won't say no. The arrogance should have made me angry. Instead, it sent heat curling through my stomach. 7 o'clock, I heard myself say. Good girl. The words sent electricity down my spine before I could analyze why. He hung up before I could respond, leaving me staring at my phone with my heart racing and my mind screaming that this was a mistake. But when 7 o'clock came, I was wearing my black dress, the nice one I saved for special occasions, and my hands were steady as I applied lipstick. The car that arrived wasn't what I expected. I'd imagined something sleek and modern, but the vehicle waiting at the curb was a classic, a black Mercedes that looked like it cost more than my yearly salary, with a driver in a proper suit who opened the door for me without speaking. The restaurant was in a part of the city I'd only seen in magazines, the kind of place where you needed reservations months in advance, and where the menu didn't list prices because if you had to ask, you didn't belong. Dante was waiting at a private table in the back, He stood when I approached, and I was struck again by how he moved. Like a predator, all coiled strength and perfect control. He wore another immaculate suit, charcoal this time, with a black shirt underneath that made his eyes seem even darker. Sophia. He took my hand, and for a moment I thought he might shake it, but instead he raised it to his lips, pressing a kiss to my knuckles that made my breath catch. You look beautiful. Thank you. My voice came out smaller than I intended. This is a lot. Too much? I looked around at the crystal chandeliers, the art on the walls, the way every other patron seemed to exist in their own bubble of wealth and power. Maybe a little. His lips curved slightly. I'll try to be less Italian next time. There's going to be a next time? Yes. He said it with such certainty that I didn't know how to argue. He pulled out my chair and I sat, hyper-aware of him settling across from me, of the way his attention felt like a physical weight. You have questions, Dante said. It wasn't a question. A lot of them. Ask. What do you do? I started with the safest one. For work, I mean. You seem successful. I manage family business interests, he said smoothly. Import, export, investments. It was a non-answer, polite and vague, and we both knew it. And that requires bodyguards? I glanced toward the entrance where I'd spotted 2 men in suits taking positions near the door, different men than at the gallery, but the same watchful presence. Security, Dante corrected. And yes, my family has enemies. What kind of enemies? His eyes held mine. The kind that makes stalkers look like children playing dress-up. A chill ran through me. Should I be afraid? Of them? He leaned back slightly. No, they'll never get close enough to you. But I should be afraid of you? I haven't decided yet, he said quietly. If you're smart enough to be afraid of me or foolish enough to trust me. His head tilted slightly. Which are you, Sophia? I should have made an excuse, should have left right then, walked out of this beautiful restaurant and never looked back. Instead, I met his dark eyes and said, I don't know yet. His smile was slow and dangerous. Good, Dante murmured. I like honesty. The waiter appeared with wine I hadn't ordered, and dinner began, and I realized with growing certainty that I'd just stepped into something I didn't understand, something that might consume me whole. I learned 3 things about Dante during dinner. First, he was brilliant. Not just intelligent, but sharp in a way that made conversation feel like a dance, each question and answer a carefully choreographed step. Second, he was intensely private. Every personal question I asked was deflected with such skill that I didn't realize I'd learned nothing about him until the plates were being cleared. Third, he watched me like I was the only person in the world. It should have been unnerving. Instead, it made me feel seen in a way I'd never experienced, like he was cataloging every expression, every gesture, filing them away as important. Tell me about your work, he said as dessert arrived. Some elaborate chocolate creation I hadn't ordered, but that appeared anyway, along with fresh espresso. I'm a children's librarian, I said, grateful for a safe topic. At the public library downtown. It's not exciting, but I love it. Reading to kids, helping them find books they'll love. You work with children. Something shifted in his expression. You're around vulnerable people. Yes? I wasn't sure where he was going with this. And Marcus knew your schedule, knew when you'd be alone. My appetite vanished. How do you know his full name? Dante took a sip of espresso unhurried. I make it a point to know everything about threats. We're not. I stumbled over the words. I mean, you helped me once. That doesn't make me your responsibility. Doesn't it? The way he said it made my heart stutter. Dante. You grabbed my arm in a crowded gallery and asked me to protect you, he said quietly. In my world, that means something. What world? I pushed. You keep saying things like that. My world. My family's enemies. What does that actually mean? He studied me for a long moment, and I saw him weighing something, making another of those invisible calculations. It means, he finally said, that I come from a place where debts are repaid, where protection is not given lightly, and where once you're claimed as mine, you stay mine. The possessiveness in those last words should have scared me. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. I'm not yours, I said, but my voice wavered. Not yet. Before I could respond, one of his security men approached the table, leaning down to murmur something in Italian. Dante's expression didn't change, but everything about his energy shifted, that casual elegance hardening into something cold and lethal. Excuse me a moment, he said, standing. Stay here. It wasn't a request. He moved toward the restaurant's entrance, and I watched as the relaxed dinner crowd seemed to unconsciously part for him. Even people who weren't looking directly at him shifted away, some primal instinct recognizing a predator in their midst. I shouldn't have followed. I should have stayed at the table like he'd ordered. Because it was an order, I recognized that now. And finished my chocolate dessert, and pretended I didn't notice the sudden tension in his bodyguard's postures. But I'd never been good at doing what I was told when I was curious. I stood, smoothing down my dress, and walked casually toward the entrance as if heading to the restroom. From the small corridor near the coat check, I could see Dante standing just outside the restaurant's glass doors, speaking with two men I didn't recognize. One of them was angry. I could tell from his posture, the aggressive way he gestured. The other seemed nervous, glancing around as if afraid of being seen. Dante stood perfectly still, hands in his pockets, looking almost bored. Then the angry man made a mistake. He grabbed Dante's jacket. What happened next took maybe 3 seconds, but I saw it in slow motion, Dante's hand moving, a blur of motion, and suddenly the angry man was on his knees with his arm twisted behind him at an angle that made my stomach turn. Dante hadn't even broken his casual stance, one hand still in his pocket, the other controlling a grown man with effortless precision. He said something in Italian, too quiet for me to hear. The man nodded frantically. Dante released him, and both men scrambled backward like they'd been burned, disappearing into a waiting car that sped away into the night. My date straightened his jacket calmly, as if nothing had happened, and turned to come back inside. He froze when he saw me standing in the corridor. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then he walked toward me with that predatory grace, and I realized I was backed against the wall with nowhere to go. I told you to stay at the table, he said quietly. I don't take orders well. I've noticed. He was close now, close enough that I had to tilt my head back to meet his eyes. What did you see? You hurt that man. I controlled an aggressive situation, he corrected. There's a difference. Is there? His jaw tightened. Are you afraid of me now, Sophia? I should have said yes. Should have been terrified of a man who could disable someone so quickly, so efficiently, so casually. But standing there with him looming over me, all I felt was that same strange pull, that magnetic attraction that made no logical sense. I don't know what I am, I admitted. Something flickered in his dark eyes. Surprise? Maybe? Or approval? Those men, I said. They were threatening you? They were delivering a message from people who don't understand boundaries. What kind of message? The kind that requires a response. He raised one hand and I flinched involuntarily, but he only brushed a strand of hair from my face, his touch gentle despite what I'd just witnessed. This is who I am, Sophia. This is the world I exist in. If that's too much, If you want to walk away now, I'll have my driver take you home. No judgment. No consequences. It was an out, a clean escape from whatever this was becoming. And if I don't walk away, I whispered, then you need to understand that I protect what's mine, violently, if necessary, and without hesitation or regret. His thumb traced my jawline, sending shivers down my spine. Can you live with that? I thought about Marcus, about 3 months of fear, about how Dante had ended that nightmare with a single phone call, about how safe I'd felt at the gallery with his arm around me, even knowing nothing about him. I think, I said slowly, that I'm already in deeper than I should be. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Much deeper. Will you tell me the truth? About what you do? About who those men were? Eventually, he stepped back, giving me space to breathe. But not tonight. Tonight, I'm just a man who wants to finish dinner with a beautiful woman. Tomorrow, things get complicated. He offered his hand, and after a heartbeat of hesitation, I took it. His fingers closed around mine, warm and strong, and he led me back to our table as if nothing had happened. But everything had changed. I'd seen behind the mask of expensive suits and perfect manners. I'd glimpsed the violence underneath, the danger he'd warned me about. And instead of running, I'd stayed. God help me, I'd stayed. I didn't hear from Dante for 3 days. 3 days of jumping every time my phone buzzed, of checking my apartment door for flowers that didn't come, of replaying that moment in the restaurant corridor over and over in my mind. This is who I am. I should have been relieved by the silence, should have taken it as a sign to move on, to be grateful for his help with Marcus and leave whatever this was behind. Instead, I felt his absence like a physical ache. I threw myself into work, reading extra story times at the library, reorganizing entire sections that didn't need organizing, staying late to avoid the emptiness of my apartment. Lena noticed. "You've been weird since the gallery," she said on Wednesday, cornering me near the children's section during my lunch break. "Did something happen with that guy? The one you grabbed?" "No," I lied. "Nothing happened." "Sophia." "Really, it's fine. He helped me with the Marcus situation, and that's—" "Wait, what?" Lena's eyes widened. "What do you mean he helped? How?" I realized my mistake too late. He just talked to him, convinced him to back off. "And you didn't think to mention this because it's not a big deal. The stalker who's been terrorizing you for 3 months suddenly vanishes after one conversation with a mysterious stranger. And you think that's not a big deal?" Lena crossed her arms. "What did this guy say to Marcus?" "I don't know exactly. That part was true, at least. But it worked. Marcus hasn't contacted me since Friday." "That's—" Lena shook her head. "That's weird, Soph. Like really weird. Are you sure this Dante guy isn't dangerous?" I supplied. "Oh, he's definitely dangerous." "And that doesn't bother you?" It should have. That was the rational response. But nothing about my feelings toward Dante was rational. "He won't hurt me," I said, surprised by how certain I sounded. "How can you possibly know that?" I didn't have an answer that would make sense to her. Didn't know how to explain that I'd looked into Dante's eyes and seen something that terrified and attracted me in equal measure. That when he'd held me at the gallery, I'd felt safer than I had in months. That I was already half in love with a man I barely knew, and the thought should have sent me running but instead made me check my phone again, hoping. My phone buzzed in my hand and my heart leaped. But it was just a text from my mother, asking about Sunday dinner. Not him. Never him. "I need to get back to work," I told Lena, ending the conversation before she could push further. That night, I was locking up the library's side entrance when I felt it. that prickle of awareness between my shoulder blades, the certainty that I was being watched. I spun around, heart hammering. The street was empty. But a car was parked across the road, a dark sedan with tinted windows that I didn't recognize. As I watched, one of the back windows rolled down halfway. Not far enough to see inside, just enough to let me know someone was there. Watching. Fear spiked through me. Was it Marcus? Had Dante's warning not been enough? Was this some new threat I didn't understand? I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, scrolling to Dante's number. I'd saved it after the restaurant, even though he hadn't called. Even though I'd told myself I wouldn't use it. My thumb hovered over the call button. The car window rolled up smoothly, and the sedan pulled away from the curb, disappearing into traffic. I stood there for a full minute, breathing hard, trying to convince myself I'd imagined the menace in that moment. Then my phone rang. "You felt them." Dante's voice, rough as if I'd woken him, though it was barely 9 p.m. "The car watching you." "How did you—" I looked around wildly. "Are you here? I have people watching you." Anger cut through the fear. "You have people watching me? That's stalking, Dante. That's exactly what Marcus was doing." Marcus was obsessed. His tone sharpened. "I'm protecting you." "From what? You said Marcus was taken care of." "Marcus is." A pause. The car tonight wasn't his. Cold dread settled in my stomach. "Then who—" "Get in your car, Sophia. Drive home. Lock your doors. I'll explain when I arrive." "You're coming here?" "I'm already on my way." I heard an engine in the background, the muffled sound of Italian being spoken. 30 minutes? Can you stay safe for 30 minutes? I don't understand what's happening." "I know." His voice softened slightly. "And I'm sorry. I should have warned you sooner. Just trust me for 30 more minutes, Dolcezza. Please." The endearment slipped out like he'd said it without thinking, and despite everything, it warmed something in my chest. "Okay," I whispered. 30 minutes. I made it home in 20, checking my mirrors obsessively the entire drive. No dark sedan. No one following that I could see. But Dante had people watching me, and I hadn't noticed them either. My apartment felt too exposed suddenly, too vulnerable. I locked the door, checked the windows, turned on every light like that would somehow help. Then I waited. Dante arrived in 28 minutes. I knew it was him before he knocked, heard the footsteps in the hallway, recognized something in the cadence. When I checked the peephole, he was there. Still in a suit but rumpled now, his tie loose and his expression harder than I'd seen it. 2 men flanked him, his security, and I opened the door. "Inside," Dante said, and all 3 of them moved into my tiny apartment, making it feel impossibly small. The security men positioned themselves by the door and window respectively, not speaking, just standing as sentinel. "You're scaring me," I told Dante. "Good. You should be scared." He moved through my living space, checking corners, looking out windows. But not of me. Never of me. "Then who? What was that car?" He turned to face me fully, and I saw something in his expression I hadn't seen before. Regret? Maybe? Or guilt? "Sophia," he said carefully, "I need to tell you something about my family." "Your family business," I said. "Import, export, investments?" "You already told me that." That was a simplification. He ran a hand through his hair, disrupting its usual perfect styling. The truth is more complicated. Then uncomplicated. My family controls significant territory in this city. We've held it for 3 generations through a combination of legitimate business and less legitimate arrangements. The pieces started clicking together in my mind. The security, the violence at the restaurant, the way people moved around him like he was someone important and dangerous. You're Mafia, I whispered. We prefer other terms. But essentially, yes. His eyes never left mine. And some people are unhappy about my recent activities, specifically about my interest in you. Why would they care about me? Because I'm Antonio Dante Marchesi, he said, and the name clearly meant something even though I didn't recognize it. I run my family's operations in this city. I don't have relationships. I don't show preference. I certainly don't threaten rival organizations over threats to civilians. You threatened... I couldn't finish the sentence. Marcus Webb's cousin does contract work for the Volkov Bratva, Dante said flatly. Small work, nothing significant, but enough that when I sent men to convince Marcus to leave you alone, the Volkovs noticed, started asking questions about why I would personally involve myself over a librarian who means nothing to me. But I don't mean anything to you, I said, even though my heart was screaming otherwise. We barely know each other. I know. He stepped closer, his eyes intense. Which is why they're confused. Which is why they're testing to see if you're a weakness they can exploit. The car tonight. Yes. Watching. Measuring. Deciding if hurting you would hurt me. I sank onto my couch, legs suddenly weak. This is insane. I can't. I'm just a librarian. I read to children. I don't belong in this world. I know that too. Dante knelt in front of me, bringing us to eye level. Which is why I stayed away for 3 days. Trying to give you distance. Trying to protect you by making it clear my interest was casual. His hand lifted, hesitating, then cupped my cheek. But they're watching now, and distance won't keep you safe anymore. So what do? We? His thumb brushed my cheekbone. There is no we, Sophia. You walk away. You forget you ever met me. My people will watch you from a distance until the Volkovs lose interest, and then you go back to your normal life. And you? I go back to mine. The words sat between us, heavy with finality. Is that what you want? I asked. What I want, Dante said quietly, is irrelevant. What's safe for you? I didn't ask what's safe. I asked what you want. His control cracked, just for a moment, and I saw raw hunger in his eyes. You, he said. I want you, Sophia. From the moment you grabbed my arm, I haven't stopped wanting you. But wanting isn't enough reason to drag you into hell with me. I should have agreed. Should have thanked him for his protection and closed the door on this impossible situation. Instead, I leaned forward and kissed him. Kissing Dante was a mistake. I knew it the moment my lips touched his, the moment I felt him go absolutely still with surprise. For a heartbeat, he didn't move, didn't respond, and panic flooded through me. I'd misread everything, made a fool of myself, thrown myself at a man who'd just been trying to protect me out of some twisted sense of obligation. Then he kissed me back. His hand tightened on my face, and his other arm wrapped around my waist, pulling me closer as he took control of the kiss with an intensity that stole my breath. It wasn't gentle. It was claiming, possessive, a kiss that said mine more clearly than words ever could. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, his forehead rested against mine. You shouldn't have done that, he said roughly. I know. Now I can't let you go. I know that too. He pulled back enough to look at me, and something in his expression had changed. The careful distance he'd maintained was gone, burned away by that kiss. If you stay in my world, Sophia, he said carefully, there are rules. Ways things work that you won't understand at first. You'll have to trust me even when it doesn't make sense. What kind of rules? You go where I tell you. You don't argue with my security. You don't ask questions I can't answer in public. He stroked my hair back from my face. And you stay close to me until the threat is neutralized. How close? You move into my apartment. Tomorrow. I jerked back. That's insane. We've known each other less than a week. And the Volkovs know your address. His tone was implacable. They know where you work, what route you drive, where your mother lives. Every moment you're out there alone, you're vulnerable. So I'm supposed to just abandon my life, my job, my apartment? Your job will understand if you take emergency leave. Your apartment will be here when this is over. Your life. He cupped my face in both hands. Your life is what I'm trying to preserve, Dolcezza. Please don't fight me on this. I wanted to argue that this was too much, too fast, too overwhelming. But I could see the fear underneath his control. Genuine worry that something would happen to me because of him. How long? I asked. I don't know. A few weeks. Maybe longer. And we're just supposed to… what? Live together? Pretend this is normal? Nothing about this is normal. His thumb traced my lower lip. But yes, you'll live in my apartment with full security until I've resolved the situation with the Volkovs. Resolved how? Don't ask questions you don't want answers to. That was one of the rules, I realized. Don't ask about the violence. Don't look too closely at how problems get solved in his world. I should have said no. Should have insisted on finding another way. But the memory of that car watching me, and the implications of what could happen if the Volkovs decided I was worth targeting, it overrode every rational objection. Okay, I whispered. I'll stay with you. Relief flashed across his face, quickly masked. Get some sleep. My men will watch your apartment tonight. Tomorrow we move you. Where? You'll see. He stood, helping me up. Pack what you need. Not too much. I'll provide anything you're missing. He moved toward the door, his security men shifting to flank him, and I felt panic rise in my chest at the thought of being alone again, even with guards outside. Dante? He turned back. Will you… I swallowed my pride. Could you stay? Just tonight? I know it's stupid, but it's not stupid. He said something in Italian to his men, and they nodded, slipping out into the hallway. Then Dante shrugged out of his suit jacket and loosened his tie further. Where do you keep your blankets? You don't have to sleep on the couch. Yes, I do. His tone was firm. I stay with you tonight. But we do this properly, Sophia. No rushing. No mistakes. Part of me was disappointed. The rest was relieved. He made up the couch while I changed for bed, both of us moving through the domestic ritual like we'd done it 100 times before. When I came out in pajamas, modest ones, thank God, not the ratty t-shirt I usually slept in, he was sitting on my couch with his shirt untucked, looking dangerously handsome and completely out of place in my tiny apartment. Thank you, I said, for staying. Come here. I crossed to him and he pulled me down to sit beside him, wrapping an arm around my shoulders, and I let myself lean into his warmth, breathing in that cedar and smoke scent. Tell me something, he said quietly. Something real, something that has nothing to do with this mess. Like what? Anything? Your favorite book? Why you became a librarian? What you wanted to be when you were a child? It felt surreal, sitting here planning my life around Mafia threats while discussing childhood dreams. But maybe that was the point, finding normal in the chaos. I wanted to be a teacher, I admitted, like every other little girl who loved books. But I was too shy. The thought of standing in front of a classroom every day terrified me. So you became a librarian instead, where I could still help kids learn to love reading without having to perform for them. I smiled slightly. The library is quiet, safe, or it was, until me. Until you, I agreed. His arm tightened around me. I'm sorry, Sophia. If I'd known grabbing my arm at that gallery would pull you into this… You would have helped me anyway, I said, certain of it. That's who you are. Under all the danger and the violence, you protect people. I protect what's mine, he corrected. There's a difference. Am I yours? The question hung between us. His hand came up to tilt my chin, making me meet his dark eyes. Yes, he said simply. From the moment you touched me, you became mine. I just didn't want to admit it. Because it's dangerous. Because it's dangerous, he agreed. But also because once I claim something, I don't let go. And you deserve better than a man who lives in shadows and violence. Shouldn't I get to decide what I deserve? His lips curved slightly. You're braver than you think, Dolcezza. Or stupider. No. Brave. He pressed a kiss to my forehead. Now sleep. Tomorrow changes everything. He was right. I called the library in the morning, explaining to my supervisor that I had a family emergency and needed to take emergency leave. She was understanding, thank God, telling me to take all the time I needed. Packing was surreal. What do you bring when moving in with a mafia boss? My hands shook as I folded clothes, gathered toiletries, grabbed the few photographs I couldn't leave behind. Dante arrived at noon with two different security men. These ones looked more like moving professionals, efficiently packing my belongings into sleek black SUVs.
We have to move
Ready?
right now.
Dante asked.
I can't just leave
No.
everything behind.
I wasn't
We
ready.
don't have a choice.
Wasn't ready to leave my safe little apartment, my carefully controlled life, 'cause everything familiar. But I took his offered hand anyway. The drive took 40 minutes, heading into a part of the city where old money lived behind gates and walls. Dante's building was all glass and steel, modern and imposing, with security that made airport checkpoints look casual. His apartment was the penthouse. Of course it was. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Sleek furniture that probably cost more than my car. Art on the walls that might have been original pieces worth more than I made in a year. I couldn't finish the sentence. Too much? Dante set down the bag he'd carried up. You'll get used to it. Will I? He crossed to me, taking my hands. Your room is down this hall. Private bathroom, closet space, but I want you sleeping in my room. My heart stuttered. Dante. Not like that, he said quickly. Not yet, but I need to know you're safe. Need to be able to protect you if something happens. The master bedroom is the most secure room in the apartment. And where will you sleep? In my bed. With you. He saw my expression and added, Just sleep, Sophia. I can control myself. Can you? His eyes darkened. I have to. Because when I finally have you, it won't be because you're scared and vulnerable. It'll be because you choose me. Fully. Knowing exactly what that means. God help me, I wanted to choose him already. But he was right. We needed time, space to figure out if this was real or just adrenaline and forced proximity. Okay, I said. Show me where I'll be staying. His bedroom was huge, dominated by a massive bed and more windows. The bathroom was marble and chrome, bigger than my entire apartment bathroom. Make yourself at home, Dante said. Mi casa es tu casa. Isn't that Spanish? I contain multitudes. His lips quirked. Dinner is at 7. Until then, rest. Explore. There are books in the library if you want. You have a library? Of course. He said it like everyone had a private library in their penthouse apartment. He left me alone to unpack, and I stood in the middle of his bedroom, surrounded by luxury and danger and this strange new life I'd somehow fallen into. Less than a week ago, I'd been a quiet librarian with a stalker problem. Now I was living with a mafia boss, playing house while he dealt with threats I couldn't imagine. And the terrifying part? I didn't want to leave. Living with Dante was nothing like I'd expected. I'd imagined awkwardness, tension, long silences filled with unspoken desire. In what I got instead was domestic routine with an undercurrent of constant awareness, him leaving for business in the mornings, me exploring his apartment like a museum, both of us circling each other carefully when we were together. He was respectful, almost too respectful. 4 days passed where he barely touched me beyond casual gestures, a hand at the small of my back, fingers brushing mine when passing me coffee, goodnight kisses pressed to my forehead before we climbed into opposite sides of his enormous bed. It was driving me crazy. "You're thinking too loud," Dante said on the 5th night. We were in his library, an actual library with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, rolling ladders, leather armchairs, reading in companionable silence. Or he was reading. I was staring at the same page I'd been on for 20 minutes, hyper-aware of him across the room. "Sorry," I said. "Don't apologize." He closed his book, giving me his full attention. "Talk to me. What's wrong?" "Everything. Nothing." I didn't know how to put words to the restlessness under my skin, the way I felt like I was waiting for something but didn't know what. "This is strange," I finally said. "Living here with you. Playing house while your people deal with whatever they're dealing with." "The Volkovs," he supplied. "And we're not playing, Dolcezza. This is real." "Is it?" The question came out sharper than I intended. "Because it feels like we're in some kind of holding pattern, like nothing can actually happen until the threat is gone." Dante set his book aside and stood, crossing to my chair with that predatory grace. "What do you want to happen?" My mouth went dry. "I don't know." "Liar." He knelt in front of me, hands resting on the chair arms, caging me in without touching. "You know exactly what you want. You're just afraid to say it." "I'm not." "You want me to touch you," he said quietly. "To stop being so careful. To stop treating you like you're fragile." Heat flooded my face. "That's not." "It is." His eyes held mine. "And you're right. I have been careful. Because I'm terrified of rushing this. Of doing something that scares you away before you truly understand what being mine means." "I'm not fragile, Dante." "No," he agreed. "You're strong, brave, beautiful." His hand lifted, fingers tracing my jawline. "And completely innocent about the darkness you've stepped into." "Then show me." The words left my lips before I could stop them. "Stop protecting me from you. Show me who you really are." Something dangerous flickered in his expression. "You don't know what you're asking." "Then tell me." For a long moment we stayed frozen, him kneeling before me trapped in the chair with my heart hammering. The air between us felt electric, charged with months of tension compressed into days. "If I show you," Dante finally said, "if I stop holding back, there's no going back to careful. No returning to this safe distance. You'll see all of me. The violence, the control, the possessiveness. And you might not like what you find. Or I might." His control cracked. He surged up, hands framing my face, and kissed me with all the restrained hunger of the past 5 days. This wasn't the careful kiss from my apartment. This was claiming, consuming. A kiss that said he'd been holding himself back by threads, and I'd just cut the last one. I gasped against his mouth, and he took advantage, deepening the kiss until I was dizzy with it. My hands found his shirt, fisting in the expensive fabric, pulling him closer even though he was already pressed against me. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes were almost black. "Come with me," he said roughly. He pulled me up from the chair and led me through the apartment to his office, a room I hadn't entered before, all dark wood and leather and a massive desk that probably cost more than my car. He closed the door behind us and moved to the desk, unlocking a drawer. When he turned back, he was holding a gun. I froze. This is who I am, Dante said quietly, holding the weapon with casual familiarity. This is always in reach. In the car, in my jacket, in this drawer. I've killed men with it, Sophia. Not many, but enough. He set it on the desk and opened his laptop, turning the screen toward me. Security feeds flickered across it. Multiple angles of his building, the street outside. What looked like other locations I didn't recognize. I watch everything, he continued. Control everything I can. It's not optional in my world. It's survival. His hand gestured to the screens. Right now, I have 12 men watching this building, 4 more watching your apartment, 3 watching your library. Every move you make outside these walls, I know about it. It should have scared me. Should have felt like another kind of stalking, another prison. But I understood the difference. Marcus had watched me to control me, to feed his obsession. Dante watched me to protect me, and to keep me safe from threats I couldn't see. Keep going, I said. He pulled out his phone, scrolling through messages I couldn't read, most in Italian, some in English, all in code I didn't understand. These are today's reports, he said. Problem solved, debts collected, territory maintained. 3 businesses paid protection money, 2 didn't. They'll have visitors tomorrow who'll convince them to reconsider. 1 rival tried to move product through our territory. He's in a hospital now. Did you put him there? No, but I gave the order. His eyes never left mine. That's what I do, Sophia. I give orders that result in violence. I make decisions that ruin lives. I protect what's mine with everything I have, and I don't lose sleep over the bodies that requires. He was trying to scare me away. I realized it suddenly. This was a test, showing me the darkness to see if I'd run. But I'd already seen the violence at the restaurant. Already knew what he was capable of. This was just confirming what I'd already accepted. Are you done? I asked. He blinked, surprised. Done? Trying to scare me away. I crossed to him, closing the distance he'd put between us. I know what you are, Dante. I've known since the gallery, even if I didn't have the words for it. You're dangerous. You hurt people. You live in a world I don't understand. Then why? Because you've never hurt me? I said simply. Because when I was scared, you made me safe. Because you could have taken advantage of me 12 times, and instead, you've been nothing but careful and respectful and good. I reached up to cup his face. So stop trying to push me away by showing me your darkness. I've already decided to stay. Sophia? Kiss me again, I whispered. Kiss me like you mean it. Like you're not afraid I'll break. He snapped. His mouth crashed down on mine, and this time there was nothing held back. He kissed me like a man starving, like he'd been restraining himself for years instead of days. His hands were everywhere. My waist, my hair, my face, and I melted into it, into him, finally feeling like we were getting somewhere real. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against mine, both of us breathing hard. I want you in my bed tonight, he said roughly. Really in my bed. Not just sleeping beside me. My heart stuttered. Dante? Not for sex, he clarified quickly. Not yet. But I need to hold you. Need to feel you close without this careful distance. Why can I have that? The vulnerability in the question undid me. Yes, I whispered. Relief flooded his expression. He took my hand, lacing our fingers together, and led me from the office. That night, I fell asleep wrapped in his arms, his heartbeat steady against my back. And for the first time since moving in, I felt like this was real. Like maybe, despite the danger and darkness, we could actually build something. I didn't know yet how wrong I was. I woke to Dante's lips on my shoulder. For a moment, I floated in that space between sleep and consciousness, warm and safe and content. Then awareness returned. His arm around my waist, his body pressed against my back, the way his mouth moved slowly along my skin. Dante? My voice came out rough with sleep. Shh. His hand splayed across my stomach. It's early still. Sleep. But I was awake now, hyper-aware of every point where our bodies touched. We'd slept like this for 2 nights since our conversation in his office, and each morning I woke more tangled in him, more desperate for something I couldn't name. I can't sleep, I admitted. Why not? Because you're touching me. Because I've never felt like this before. Because I'm terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. I turned in his arms to face him, and the look in his eyes stole my breath. Raw hunger barely restrained, dark and intense. Tell me what you're thinking, I whispered. That I've been patient long enough. His hand came up to cup my face. That I want to kiss every inch of you. That sharing a bed with you without touching you properly is the sweetest torture I've ever endured. Then touch me. Sophia, please. I didn't know where the courage came from. I'm not afraid. I want this. Want you. You don't know what you're asking for. Then show me. He groaned, a sound of surrender, and kissed me with all the pent-up hunger of the past week. This kiss was different from the others, slower but deeper, exploring rather than claiming. His hand slid into my hair, angling my head, and I opened for him, letting him take everything he wanted. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, his eyes searched mine. Are you sure? He asked. Once we cross this line, there's no going back. You'll be mine in every way, Sophia. Body, heart, soul. I won't share, won't let go. Can you live with that? I should have been afraid of the possessiveness in his words. Instead, it sent heat pooling low in my stomach. I'm sure, I whispered. He kissed me again, rolling me onto my back, his weight settling over me in a way that made me feel protected rather than trapped. His mouth moved to my neck, finding sensitive spots I didn't know I had, and I gasped. Tell me if you want me to stop, he murmured against my skin. Any time, for any reason. Your consent matters more than anything, understand? I understand. His hand slid under the t-shirt I'd worn to bed, one of his, too large on me, and splayed across my ribs. You're shaking. I'm nervous. I was. My hands trembled against his shoulders, my breath coming too fast. He pulled back to look at me. We don't have to. I want to. My voice shook too. I've never. Understanding dawned in his eyes. Never? No. Heat flooded my face. Does that change? Yes, he said fiercely. It changes everything. For a horrible moment, I thought he meant he didn't want me anymore, that my inexperience was unattractive. But then he kissed me again, softer this time, reverent. It changes everything, he repeated, because it means I need to be even more careful, even more patient. This isn't something to rush, Dolcezza. But you said, I said I wanted to touch you, to kiss every inch of you. His hand slid up my ribs, stopping just below my breast, making me arch involuntarily. I didn't say I needed to take everything today. What if I want to give everything today? Then you'll have to be patient with me, he said, a smile playing at his lips. Because I plan to savor this. He was true to his word. For the next hour, he explored me with maddening thoroughness, learning what made me gasp, what made me tremble, what made me forget my nervousness in waves of sensation. His hands and mouth mapped every inch of skin he could reach, always stopping just short of where I desperately wanted him to go. Dante, please. I didn't know what I was begging for. Please what? He pressed a kiss to my hip bone, and I shivered. I don't know. I need... Tell me. His voice was rough. Tell me what you need, Sophia. But I couldn't find words, couldn't articulate the ache building inside me, the desperate need for something I'd never experienced. He understood anyway. Come here, he said, pulling me back into his arms, gentling his touch. We have time. All the time you need. I'm sorry, I whispered. I don't know what I'm doing. You're perfect. He kissed my forehead. And there's nothing to apologize for. We'll learn together. Figure out what you like. What makes you feel good. What about what you like? Trust me, Dolcezza, I'm enjoying this very much. His hand stroked down my spine. Watching you come undone, knowing I'm the first person to touch you like this, it's a gift I don't take lightly. We lay tangled together as my breathing slowed, as the desperate need faded to something warmer, softer. His fingers traced patterns on my back, and I felt safe in a way I'd never experienced. Can I ask you something? I said after a while. Anything? Have there been a lot of... I couldn't finish the question. Women? He said it without judgment. Some. Not as many as you might think. My life doesn't leave much room for relationships. But you had time for them. Just not for me? He was quiet for a moment. They weren't you. What does that mean? It means, he said carefully, that every woman before you was temporary. Someone to pass time with. But you, from the moment you grabbed my arm at that gallery, you were different. Dangerous to my control, to my carefully ordered life. I'm not dangerous to anyone. You're dangerous to me, he corrected. Because you make me want things I can't have, a normal life. A woman who comes home to me not because she's being protected, but because she chooses to. Children. Maybe someday, if the world were different. My heart clenched. You want children? In another life, maybe. One where I'm not constantly watching for threats. And where bringing someone into my world wouldn't be a death sentence. His arms tightened around me. But that's not the life I have. So I'll take what I can get. You. Here. For as long as you'll stay. What if I want to stay forever? Then I'll spend every day trying to deserve that gift. We stayed in bed until the sunlight streaming through the windows grew too bright to ignore. Then Dante made me breakfast. An unexpectedly domestic scene. Him in just sleep pants, moving around his kitchen with easy competence. You cook? I asked, surprised. My grandmother insisted all her grandchildren learn. He cracked eggs into a pan with practiced efficiency. Said we shouldn't rely on servants for basic survival skills. Your grandmother sounds formidable. She was. Something sad crossed his face. She died when I was 19, right before I took over the family business. I'm sorry. She would have liked you, he said, plating food. Strong but soft. Kind despite having every reason not to be. I'm not that special. You are to me. The words hung between us, weighty and important. I was still processing them when his phone buzzed on the counter. Dante glanced at it, and his expression changed, hardening into something cold and focused. What's wrong? I asked. Nothing you need to worry about. But he was already texting back, his whole demeanor shifting from domestic to dangerous in seconds. Dante. Eat your breakfast, he said, distracted. I need to make a call. He disappeared into his office, and I sat alone at the breakfast bar, the warm domesticity of moments before already fading. Something had changed. Something bad. I could feel it in the air, hear in the sudden tension in the apartment. When Dante emerged 20 minutes later, he was fully dressed in a suit, armed, his men already waiting in the foyer. I have to go out, he said. Stay in the apartment. Don't answer the door for anyone but me. What's happening? Business. He kissed me quickly, thoroughly. I'll be back tonight. I promise. Then he was gone, and I was alone in his huge apartment with half-eaten breakfast and the sinking certainty that the fragile peace we'd built was about to shatter. Dante didn't come home that night. I paced his apartment like a caged animal, checking my phone obsessively, jumping at every sound. His security men had multiplied. I counted 6 stationed around the penthouse now. Silent sentinels who wouldn't tell me anything. By midnight, I was terrified. By 2 a.m., I was furious. By dawn, when the elevator finally dinged and Dante stepped out, I was all of the above plus exhausted. Where have you been? I demanded, and then I saw him properly. Blood on his shirt, a cut above his eyebrow, his knuckles bruised and split. Oh my God. I rushed to him. What happened? Are you? I'm fine. He caught my hands gently. It's not my blood. Mostly. Mostly. Dante, you need a hospital. I need a shower and sleep. He looked exhausted. The violence I'd glimpsed at the restaurant written clearly on his face now. But first, I need you to understand something. Understand what? The Volkovs made their move tonight. They hit one of our warehouses, killed 2 of my men, sent a message that they're not backing down. His jaw tightened. I responded. Forcefully. And now we're in a full war. The words didn't make sense. War? Like people will die, Sophia. Like my days will be spent managing violence, and my nights will be spent planning more of it. Like every moment I'm away from you, I'll be terrified something will happen, because they know you're my weakness now. I'm not your weakness. You are. He said it with certainty. You're the only thing in this world that can truly hurt me, and they know it. That's why they're pushing now, while I'm distracted, while I'm spending energy keeping you safe instead of focused on business. The guilt hit me like a physical blow. This is my fault. No. He pulled me into his arms despite the blood, despite everything. This is the Volkov's fault for not respecting boundaries, for thinking they can threaten what's mine without consequences. What are you going to do? What I always do. Protect my territory, protect my people. His hand cupped my face. Protect you. I don't want you to die for me, I whispered. I won't. But I might kill for you. He said it so matter-of-factly that I shivered. Actually, I already have. Tonight. The man who planned the warehouse attack. He won't plan anything ever again. I should have been horrified. Should have pulled away from this man who spoke of killing so casually. But all I felt was a terrible, fierce relief that he was safe. That he'd come home to me. Go shower, I finally said. I'll make coffee. His lips curved slightly. You're not running? Where would I go? I touched his bruised knuckles gently. You're in a war because of me. I'm not abandoning you now. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or gratitude. He kissed me softly and headed for the bedroom. I made coffee with shaking hands, trying to process everything. A week ago, I'd been a librarian, whose biggest problem was a stalker. Now I was living with a mafia boss in the middle of a gang war, and somehow that felt more manageable than facing my empty apartment had. What did that say about me? Dante emerged 20 minutes later, showered and bandaged, wearing fresh clothes but moving stiffly. The cut above his eyebrow looked worse clean, and I could see bruises forming on his jaw. Let me see, I said. Sophia. Sit. I pointed to the couch. Let me take care of you. He obeyed, and I retrieved the first aid kit one of his men directed me to. For the next half hour, I cleaned and rebandaged his cuts, checked his bruises, forced him to let me see every injury. You're lucky nothing's broken, I muttered. pressing an ice pack to his ribs where the bruising was worst. I've had worse. That doesn't make me feel better. Sophia. He caught my hand. Look at me. I met his dark eyes, seeing exhaustion and pain, but also something fiercer. Determination, maybe, or possessiveness. I need you to promise me something, he said. What? If something happens, if things get worse and I tell you to run, you run. No arguments. No looking back. You take the money I've set aside for you and you disappear. No. Sophia. No. I repeated firmly. I'm not promising to abandon you. We're in this together now, remember? You said I was yours. That means you're mine too. I don't run when things get hard. This isn't hard, Dolcezza. This is life and death. Then we face it together. We stared at each other, wills clashing. Finally, he pulled me into his lap, careful of his injuries, and buried his face in my neck. You're going to destroy me, he murmured. Or save you, I countered. Maybe both. We stayed like that for a long time, just holding each other. When his breathing evened out, I realized he'd fallen asleep sitting up, exhausted enough that his body had simply surrendered. Carefully, I shifted him down onto the couch, grabbed blankets, and settled beside him. His arm automatically came around me even in sleep, protective and possessive. I should have been afraid, should have been planning my escape. Instead, I felt more certain than ever that this was where I belonged, even if it killed me. The next 3 days were a nightmare of waiting. Dante was gone more than he was home, coming back at odd hours covered in blood and exhaustion. Each time, I patched him up, fed him, let him sleep for a few hours before his phone would ring and he'd disappear again. His security around me tripled. I couldn't go to the bathroom without an armed guard within shouting distance. On the 4th day, Lena called. I'd been avoiding her calls, not knowing what to say. How do you explain that you're living with a mafia boss in the middle of a gang war? But when she called for the 10th time, I finally answered. Oh, thank God, she said immediately. Sophia, where are you? Your apartment is empty. Your neighbor said men in suits cleaned it out, and you haven't answered your phone in days. I'm fine, I interrupted. I'm safe. It's complicated. Complicated? Here your stalker disappears and you vanish with some mysterious stranger and you think it's complicated? Is enough explanation? Lena, where are you? I'm coming to get you right now. You can't. I glanced at the security men positioned around Dante's living room. I can't leave. Not right now. Sophia, you're scaring me. This isn't you. Are you in danger? Do you need help? Should I call the police? No. The thought of police getting involved in Dante's war made my blood run cold. No police. I promise I'm okay. I'm with someone. Someone who's keeping me safe. The guy from the gallery? Yes. And you trust him? Did I? With my life, apparently. With my heart, certainly. Yes, I said. I trust him. Then when can I see you? When can I know you're really okay? Soon, I promised, hoping it was true. When things calmed down. After I hung up, one of the security men, Marco, I'd learned his name was, approached. Boss wants to see you, he said, in his office. Dante was there when I arrived, looking at security feeds with that intense focus I'd come to recognize. He glanced up when I entered, and his expression softened slightly. Close the door, he said. I did, and he pulled me into his arms immediately, holding me tight. I'm sorry, he murmured into my hair, for dragging you into this, for putting you in danger, for every moment you've spent afraid because of me. I'm not afraid. It was mostly true. I'm worried about you. Don't be, I'm winning. Are you? He pulled back to look at me. The Volkovs underestimated how far I'd go to protect you. They thought I'd negotiate, compromise, show weakness. Instead, his jaw tightened. Instead, I've reminded them why my family has held this territory for 3 generations. By tomorrow, they'll either retreat or be destroyed. And if they don't retreat, then they die. He said it without hesitation. All of them. Every single person who thought threatening you was acceptable. The violence in his words should have repulsed me. Instead, I felt protected in a way I'd never experienced. "It's almost over," Dante said quietly. "One more night. One final move. And then you'll be safe." "We'll be safe," I corrected. "We'll be safe," he agreed. He kissed me then, desperate and claiming, and I kissed him back with everything I had. Whatever happened next, we'd face it together. The final night came sooner than expected. I was reading in Dante's library when Marco burst in, more agitated than I'd ever seen him. "We need to move you," he said. "Now. Boss's orders." "What? Why? Where's Dante?" "He's handling the situation, but the Volkovs know about this apartment. They're planning a move tonight, and he wants you somewhere they can't reach." Terror spiked through me. "Is he okay? Marco, is he?" "He's fine, but you need to come with me. Now." I grabbed my phone and let Marco lead me to the service elevator, flanked by 3 other guards. We descended into an underground garage I didn't know existed, toward a waiting armored SUV. "Where are we going?" I asked. "Safe house outside the city. You'll stay there until—" Gunfire erupted. It happened so fast I barely processed it. Muzzle flashes in the darkness. Marco shoving me behind the SUV. His men returning fire. The sound was deafening in the enclosed space, and I covered my ears, suppressing myself against the vehicle's wheel well. "Get her inside!" Marco shouted. Hands grabbed me, pulling me into the SUV. The door slammed shut, and I heard more gunfire, shouting in Italian and Russian, the squeal of tires. Then we were moving, speeding up a ramp and into the street with such force that I was thrown against the seat. "Keep your head down," someone shouted. Not Marco, another guard whose name I didn't know. We drove like that for what felt like hours but was probably 20 minutes, taking corners too fast, running lights, until finally we pulled into what looked like an abandoned warehouse. "Out!" the guard ordered. "Quickly!" I scrambled out, and they hustled me inside to a small room in the back, furnished with basic necessities but clearly meant as a hiding place, not a home. "You'll be safe here," the guard said. "Marco and the others will join us soon." But I heard it in his voice. The uncertainty, the fear. "What happened back there?" I demanded. "Where's Marco? Where's Dante?" "Boss is handling it." "Don't lie to me." The fear broke through as anger. People were shooting at us. At me. "Where is Dante?" The guard's phone rang before he could answer. He listened for a moment, his expression darkening, then hung up. "Marco didn't make it," he said quietly. "The others are en route, but—" "Didn't make it?" The words didn't make sense. "What does that mean?" "It means he's dead, ma'am." The guard wouldn't meet my eyes. "He died protecting you, making sure you got out." The room tilted. I sat down hard on the narrow bed, trying to process it. Marco, who'd taught me to play cards during long, boring afternoons in the penthouse, who'd shown me pictures of his daughter, who'd been nothing but kind to me, dead, because of me. "This is my fault," I whispered. "No, ma'am. This is the Volkov's fault, and the boss will make them pay for it. More death, more violence." I looked up at him. "When does it end?" "When one side wins." The hours that followed were the longest of my life. I paced the small room, checked my phone obsessively for messages that didn't come, and tried not to imagine all the horrible things that could be happening to Dante. Finally, near dawn, I heard vehicles outside. The door burst open, and Dante was there, alive, covered in blood again, but alive. Sophia. He crossed to me in 3 strides, pulling me into his arms. Thank God. Marco got you out. He's dead. Tears I'd been holding back broke free. Marco's dead because of me. I'm because I grabbed your arm at a stupid gallery and dragged you into my problems. No. Dante's grip tightened. He's dead because the Volkovs don't understand honor. Don't understand that there are lines you don't cross. And you killed them for it. It wasn't a question. I could see the answer in his eyes, in the blood on his clothes. Yes, he said simply. Every single one who participated in tonight's attack, the ones who ordered it, the ones who knew about it and didn't stop it, they're all dead, Sophia. And the rest of the Volkovs have surrendered. Surrendered? Ceded territory, paid reparations, sworn oaths. The war is over. You're safe. He cupped my face. You're finally safe. I should have felt relief. Should have been grateful. But all I felt was hollowness. At what cost? How many people died tonight? Does it matter? Yes. I pulled back. Of course it matters. These are lives, Dante. People with families and... People who would have killed you without hesitation, he interrupted. People who saw you as leverage, as a tool to use against me. They made their choice when they attacked my home. And now their families suffer. Their children grow up without fathers. The cycle continues. Yes. He didn't flinch from it. This is my world, Sophia. This is what being mine means. Violence and consequences and decisions that keep you safe, even if they cost other people everything. We stared at each other, and I saw the truth clearly for the first time. This would never stop. There would always be another threat, another war, another pile of bodies between us and safety. I can't do this, I whispered. Pain flashed across his face. Can't do what? Live like this. Always afraid, always waiting for the next attack. Watching you leave and not knowing if you'll come back. Knowing people die because you're protecting me. Sophia, take me home. I couldn't look at him. To my apartment, please. I need time to think. If you leave now, Dante said quietly, you're not coming back. We both know it. You'll talk yourself into believing this was temporary, that we were just surviving together, that what we have isn't worth the cost. Isn't it? I forced myself to meet his eyes. Marco is dead. How many others? How many more before? As many as it takes. His voice was steel. I will kill every person who threatens you, Sophia. Burn this entire city down if that's what keeping you safe requires. And I won't apologize for it. That's not love, Dante. That's obsession. Perhaps. He stepped closer. Or perhaps love and obsession aren't so different when you've found the one person in the world who makes you want to be something other than what you are. The one person who makes you believe in futures you've never imagined. I can't be that person, I said, but my voice broke. I'm not strong enough. You're the strongest person I know. He took my hands. You faced down your stalker. You walked into my world knowing the danger. You patched me up after battles and didn't flinch from the blood. You stood by me when any sane person would have run. Maybe I should have run. Maybe. He brought my hands to his lips. But you didn't. And that means something, Dolcezza. It means you're braver than you think. It means you love me even though you don't want to. I don't... But I couldn't finish the lie. I did love him. Somewhere between the gallery and this warehouse, between fear and safety, between violence and tenderness, I'd fallen completely in love with him, and that terrified me more than anything else. Take me home, I whispered. Please, just for a few days. Let me think. If I do, Dante said. Will you come back? I don't know. He studied me for a long moment, and I saw him make the decision. Saw him choose to let me go even though every instinct he had probably screamed to keep me close. Okay, he finally said. I'll take you home. The drive back to my apartment happened in silence. When we arrived, Dante walked me to my door, his security staying back to give us privacy. I love you, he said quietly. I need you to know that. Whatever you decide, however this ends, I love you, Sophia. More than I've ever loved anything. Tears spilled down my cheeks. I love you too. That's what makes this so hard. He kissed me softly, tenderly, like he was memorizing the feel of my lips. Then he stepped back. I'll wait, he said, as long as it takes. But know this, whether you come back or not, you're still mine, still under my protection. Anyone who tries to hurt you will answer to me. Then he was gone, and I was alone in my apartment for the first time in over a week. I locked the door, slid down against it, and finally let myself cry. I lasted 4 days. 4 days of going through the motions of normal life, returning to work, seeing friends, sleeping in my own bed. 4 days of pretending I could go back to who I'd been before Dante. It was a lie. Everything felt wrong. My apartment was too quiet, too empty. Work felt meaningless. Even Lena, who'd been so worried, couldn't quite reach me through the numbness that had settled over everything. Because I'd left a piece of myself in that penthouse, in that library, in that huge bed, in the arms of a man who loved me enough to let me go. On the 5th morning, I called in sick to work. On the 5th afternoon, I stood outside Dante's building, staring up at the glass and steel tower that had briefly been home. His security recognized me immediately. Within minutes, I was in the elevator, my heart pounding as floors ticked by. The doors opened. Dante was standing there, like he'd known I was coming, like he'd been waiting. Hi, I said stupidly. Hi. His eyes were guarded, careful. You came back? I tried not to. I stepped out of the elevator. I tried to convince myself I could live without you, that the safe, quiet life I had before was enough. And I was lying to myself. I moved closer. Because the truth is, I don't want safe if it means living without you. I don't want quiet if it means never hearing your voice. I don't want normal if it means giving up the way you make me feel. Something fierce and possessive flashed in his eyes. Sophia, let me finish. I took a breath. What happened with Marco was horrible. The violence is real and the danger is real, and I'm still terrified of what loving you might cost. But these past 4 days showed me something. I'd rather face that fear with you than hide from it alone. You're sure? He hadn't moved, hadn't reached for me. Because if you come back now, that's it. No more running. No more second guessing. You choose this life. You choose all of it. The darkness, the violence, the constant vigilance. You choose me. I choose you, I said firmly. All of you. The parts that scare me and the parts that make me feel safer than I've ever felt. The violence you use to protect what's yours and the gentleness you show only to me. I choose you, Dante. If you'll still have me? He moved then, crossing the distance between us and pulling me into his arms with such force that my feet left the ground. Still have you? He buried his face in my neck. Sophia, these 4 days have been hell. Every hour wondering if you'd come back. Every moment fighting the urge to drag you back here and never let you go. Why didn't you? Because you needed to choose me. He set me down, framing my face with his hands. Needed to come back of your own free will. Anything else would have been another kind of cage, and I won't do that to you. I love you, I said. I'm terrified and uncertain and completely out of my depth, but I love you. I love you too. He kissed me softly. And I promise, I'll spend every day trying to be worthy of that gift. Trying to give you moments of peace between the chaos. Trying to show you that this life can have beauty in it too. Show me now, I whispered. He swept me up, carrying me to the bedroom like I weighed nothing. This time, when he laid me on the bed, there was no hesitation, no careful distance. Mine, he said, and it wasn't a question. Yours, I agreed. What happened next was slow and intense, and nothing like I'd imagined. He was careful with my inexperience, but also demanding, showing me pleasure I didn't know existed. Me taking his time until I was trembling and desperate and completely his. Afterward, wrapped in his arms with sunlight streaming through the windows, I felt more certain than I ever had about anything. This was where I belonged. 3 months later, life had settled into a new normal. I'd gone back to work at the library, though now I arrived and left with discreet security. My apartment sat empty. I'd officially moved into the penthouse, merging my quiet life with Dante's dangerous one. It wasn't always easy. There were nights he came home covered in blood, days when I didn't see him at all, moments when the violence of his world crashed into our domestic peace. But there were also mornings waking up in his arms. Quiet dinners where we talked about books and nothing important. Moments of laughter and tenderness that made the dangerous parts bearable. The Volkovs had retreated, but new threats emerged. They always did in Dante's world. A rival family from Chicago testing boundaries, internal politics within his own organization, the constant juggling act of maintaining power through violence and diplomacy in equal measure. But he came home to me, every time, and slowly, I learned to live with the fear, to trust that he'd always find his way back. On a cool evening in October, Dante took me to dinner at the same restaurant where we'd had our first date. The same private table, the same intimate atmosphere. Why here? I asked. Because this is where you first saw me for what I am, he said. Where you watched me hurt someone and decided to stay anyway. I thought you were terrifying. I am terrifying. He took my hand. But you loved me anyway. I did. I smiled. I do. He pulled a small box from his jacket and my heart stopped. Sophia. He opened it, revealing a ring, a simple band with a single perfect diamond that caught the light like a star. I know this life isn't what you imagined. I know there's danger and darkness and no guarantee of happily ever after. But I promise to love you fiercely, protect you violently, and give you every moment of peace and happiness I can steal from this world we live in. Tears blurred my vision. Dante. Marry me, he said simply. Choose me permanently. Let me spend the rest of my life trying to deserve you. I should have been afraid. Should have thought about the implications. And the danger, the future we'd be building in shadows and violence. But all I felt was certainty. Yes, I whispered. Yes, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring on my finger and kissed me with such tenderness that I forgot we were in public. Forgot everything except the feeling of his lips on mine and his arms around me, and the future we'd chosen together. When we finally broke apart, both smiling, he said, You know, this means you're stuck with me forever, right? No running. No changing your mind. I know. I touched his face. I'm not running anymore. Good. His smile turned wicked. Because I have plans for forever with you, Dolcezza. So many plans. We left the restaurant hand in hand, his security following at a discreet distance, and drove back to the penthouse that had become home. That night, lying in bed with my engagement ring catching moonlight and Dante's heartbeat steady beneath my ear, I thought about the night at the gallery that had changed everything. I'd grabbed a stranger's arm to escape my stalker. He'd been a mafia boss. And somehow, against all logic and reason, we'd found love in the chaos. It wasn't a fairy tale. There was no clean ending, no guarantee that the danger would ever fully disappear. The Volkovs might regroup. New enemies would emerge. The violence of Dante's world would continue to touch our lives in ways I couldn't predict. But I'd chosen this. Chosen him. Chosen love, even knowing the cost. And as I drifted off to sleep in his arms, I knew I'd make the same choice again and again, for the rest of my life. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is grab a stranger's arm at a gallery. And sometimes that danger saves you instead of destroying you. Sometimes you find love in the last place you'd expect. Even if it comes wrapped in violence and darkness and the dangerous intensity of a man who would burn the world down to keep you safe. Especially then,